Instagram post that we're going to look at is from Lonnie Walker, right? Lonnie Walker had a more self-reflecting post. And so let's go ahead and go through it. This is from his Instagram post at Buddha. He says, man, where do I start? As we all know, we are ourselves' biggest critic. I had high expectations for myself this season. I had high expectations for myself this season, and it didn't go as well as I expected. But you can never expect, only control what you can. This year showed me a lot, showed how much harder I need to go. And now it's time to go. Dealt with the good, the bad, the ugly. And I appreciate every last second of it. This offseason is going to be a special one. I wanted to play in the playoffs so bad, but came up short. It hurt, but only added more fuel to my fire. This offseason is for all the underdogs out there. It's time to work harder than everyone out there and let the hard work do the talking. Love y'all. The price of success is hard work, dedication to the job at hand, and the determination whether we want to win or lose. We have applied the best of ourselves to the task at hand, Vince Lombardi. I guess that's your quote from Vince Lombardi. And then he finishes off by saying, I will be special. Okay, so that's Lonnie Walker's quote right here. Now, there's a lot to dissect from this quote. First off, let's just look at the top of it, right? Where do I start? As we all know, we're ourselves' biggest critic. I had high expectations for myself this season, and it didn't go as well as I expected, right? So Lonnie Walker had high expectations. I think, he thought he was coming into this season and he was going to have a big role, and he had a couple opportunities this season to start. And, he's his biggest critic. So I think he understands that he didn't meet expectations. First off, I think Lonnie understands that. Lonnie understands that the bar is set extremely high for him, and he's aware that it just didn't come through. Now, there's an asterisk on all this. Like we just talked about Dejounte, not having a really off season to bulk up and get stronger from last year to this year. Well, Lonnie Walker really didn't have, no one had the off season to get better. Lonnie Walker, for the majority of this season, I agree with exactly everything he said. The expectation was high and he fell a little short. He fell a little short offensively, defensively. It seemed like he was lost most of the time. And it seemed like this season was more about all the areas that he needs to get better at and less about all the areas where he shines, right? It was a tough season for Lonnie Walker in that regard. I think the last maybe 10 games or so, Lonnie Walker started trending upwards in a lot of areas, but, defensively, there's a lot of room to grow. And this is where he goes on and says, this year showed me a lot, showed me how much harder I need to go. And now it's time to go. Dealt with the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? So I think he's aware. I think he's just so self-aware and he's right on the same page as the rest of Spurs Nation. This year showed a lot of Lonnie Walker's weaknesses, and most of it came on the defensive end. And on the offensive end, it was consistency. He wasn't there from game to game, and I'm not here to criticize or condemn Lonnie Walker at all. Over here at, we're the biggest Lonnie Walker supporters here, biggest Lonnie Walker fans. We're his hype zone. We're here for it, right? We're here to see Lonnie Walker take those huge steps, and leaps and bounds forward type of steps in his game and in his play. Offensively, he had nights where he looked like he can be the number one guy on our team offensively. Some of those were when DeMar DeRozan was sitting out. And then other nights he looked like he was lost and didn't know what to do, and, didn't look conditioned enough, and looked like he was getting tired, and looked like he doesn't sprint up and down the floor. Like there's a lot of those in between, during those transitions from offense to defense or defense to offense. It's like, bro, we wish Lonnie would just push himself a little bit harder, because he can burn everyone down the floor, or he can get after it on the defensive end a little bit more, like go and just stick his nose in it. There was a lot of Lonnie Walker to me this year, just not in the fight. I think that's maybe my biggest gripe here with Lonnie this season is that there were so many plays defensively where he just looked like he didn't want to get in the fight. He was more just sitting back watching what happened. Didn't want to stick his nose in there for the steal or the help or going after the rebound or making someone's job tougher by guarding them full court or anything like that. Like Lonnie wasn't here for that smoke. And, that's one of the biggest areas that I think showed when he's talking about dealt with the good, the bad, the ugly. In his quote, I think that's the ugly part. The ugly part is like, bro, you need to get way more involved. You need to be impacting the game on multiple levels, not just when the ball's in your hand. And it seemed like that was the only time Lonnie Walker ever impacted the game. If he was on, was when the ball was in his hand. The bad was the inconsistency. The good was, there was some nights where he showed flashes of offensive greatness. And that's the good, the bad, the ugly in this quote here. This offseason, he goes on to say, this offseason is going to be a special one. I wanted to play in the playoffs so bad, but came up short, and it hurt, but only added more fuel to my fire. This offseason is for all the underdogs out there. It's time to work harder than everyone else. And Lonnie's another one of those guys. They're all of our young guys are cut from the same cloth mentally. I think they're all here to grind and put in the work and trust the process and get better year to year, and then know that there's like a long-term plan here. When he's here saying that he wanted to get into the playoffs really bad, yeah, we all did, man. I'm pretty sure all those guys did. All Spurs Nation did. We wanted Lonnie Walker to be the X factor this season, and that was one of my biggest things. If you're a subscriber to my podcast, again, sorry about the shake. Subscribe to the podcast on Spotify and iTunes and rate it when you get there. Put a comment in there. He very well could be our X factor on a game to game night. And in the Memphis game, I haven't looked back at it. And that's something I do want to do. I'm going to go back and look at this game and see why Lonnie Walker was like nowhere to be found in the second half, right? I don't even think he played in the fourth quarter and all that type of stuff, bro. It's like, that tells you a lot, that he just wasn't ready to compete on that level. And for me, I feel like it's all mental with Lonnie Walker. But he's ready to work. And I think that's where a lot of the work needs to be done for Lonnie this offseason, is in the film room. Is in that film room session with the coaches, assistant coaches, breaking down play after play after play. I know they got, that Synergy computer program where they can go in and they can pull out all types of plays from Lonnie's season. They should be looking at how Lonnie's working on over screens, under screens, how he's communicating off ball. There's a lot of work that Lonnie needs to be putting in this summer. And I think he's ready to go ahead and do that. And we still have high expectations for Lonnie. I think he knows that. And so, we're all on board with that. Let's go ahead and